I never thought the day would come when Sophie, the woman I trusted with my entire life, would ask me something so shocking. We had been together for 4 years, sharing dreams, small apartments, late-night talks, and the quiet comfort of mutual understanding. She had always been affectionate, attentive, and surprisingly considerate for someone so wild at heart. I thought I knew her. I thought I understood her. But that evening, as we sat across from each other in our tiny kitchen, sipping lukewarm coffee, she leaned back, eyes distant, and said, I want an open relationship." Her words hit me like a physical blow. I stared at her, feeling my heart slow down and then race uncontrollably. I wanted to ask her if she had gone mad, if the years we spent together meant nothing, if everything she had promised me was a lie. But I didn't. I had learned that reacting in the heat of the moment rarely helped. Instead, I let her speak. She told me she needed freedom, excitement, the thrill of someone new, but that she still loved me. She said she wanted honesty, not secrecy, and that I could even participate if I wanted. Part of me wanted to yell, to storm out, to demand she choose me or leave. But another part, the part that had always been careful, analytical, and patient, stayed silent. I sipped my coffee slowly, keeping my emotions under wraps. Inside, a storm was raging. Anger, disbelief, and a strange, sharp curiosity. After she finished, I simply said, "All right." My voice was calm, almost unnervingly calm, and I saw the surprise flicker across her face. She expected tears, arguments, maybe even me leaving on the spot. Instead, I nodded, placed my mug on the table, and said, "I'll agree to this on one condition." Her eyes widened. "Condition?" she asked, a nervous lilt creeping into her voice. "Yes," I said. "We'll define rules, boundaries, everything. But here's the catch. I get to see everything firsthand. No lies. No hiding. Total honesty. And anyone involved with you has to know me. Every detail. Every message. Every encounter. I'll decide what's acceptable and what's not. Transparency, Sophie. Or it doesn't happen." She blinked, taken aback. She had thought this was her ticket to freedom. A way to have fun while keeping me under her thumb. She didn't realize I wasn't the same person she had toyed with before. I wasn't desperate. I wasn't weak. And I certainly wasn't going to let curiosity, trust, or love be used against me. For the next few days, Sophie was cautious, hesitant, almost afraid. I could see her mind working overtime, trying to figure out how I would enforce my condition without seeming controlling. She assumed I would shy away from details, that I would allow her freedom while keeping a vague eye on things. She had no idea. I watched her messages, her plans, and her conversations with an almost clinical detachment. Not because I wanted to control her, far from it, but because I wanted clarity. I wanted to see who she truly was when given the freedom she craved. And what I discovered surprised me. The first few interactions she tried to hide were small. A text deleted too quickly, a call she didn't mention. But then the lies grew bolder, more audacious. She had underestimated me completely. The breaking point came on a Friday night. Sophie had invited someone over, claiming it was a friend she wanted to catch up with. I arrived, pretending ignorance, as if I had no knowledge of her plans. The moment I opened the door, I realized this was more than casual. There he was, confident, smug, clearly thinking he had stumbled into something forbidden. He didn't expect me, and I watched him falter instantly. Sophie froze too, the playful confidence she had worn for weeks now replaced by panic. I smiled quietly without a word. There was no rage in my expression, no shouting, no drama. I simply stood there, calm, composed, letting the weight of my presence sink in. The room felt smaller, charged with tension. Sophie stumbled over her words, trying to explain, to make excuses. The man's smirk faded as he realized the game had shifted. This wasn't a thrill, it wasn't fun, and it certainly wasn't anonymous. I said nothing. I let the silence do the work. Eventually, Sophie whispered, almost pleading, "I thought you said it was fine." "I did," I replied, my tone steady, deliberate. "But I never agreed to lies. I never agreed to secrecy. Freedom isn't hiding, Sophie. Freedom is honesty. And what you just showed me is neither." The look on her face, shock, fear, and finally understanding, told me everything I needed to know. She had wanted control under the guise of independence. She had assumed my calmness was weakness. But calmness, as I had learned over the years, is far more dangerous than anger. It allows you to see every angle, anticipate every move, and deliver the consequences without a single misstep. Sophie stood there, trembling slightly, her eyes searching mine for something I wasn't willing to give. Forgiveness without accountability. I could see the realization slowly settle in. She had miscalculated, assumed that I would bend to her desires without understanding the cost. But I wasn't going to punish her out of anger, and I wasn't going to beg her to stay. I was going to let the truth speak for itself. "Pack your things," I said calmly. "Tonight is over. You'll have your freedom, Sophie, but you'll also have consequences. This isn't a punishment. It's clarity. You wanted openness, I gave you honesty. You wanted thrill, I gave you reality. And reality is never kind to those who underestimate it." She started to protest, to argue, but I held up a hand. "Not a word. Think about what you wanted and what you've shown me. Actions speak louder than any excuse." The man who had come over awkwardly realized the situation and quietly backed out, muttering something under his breath about misunderstanding. I didn't acknowledge him. My focus was entirely on Sophie. She had spent years playing games, testing boundaries, assuming my love would forgive every indiscretion. She had never stopped to consider that my love included respect for myself, and respect cannot coexist with lies. Over the next few hours, Sophie packed her things. I stayed quiet, letting the silence emphasize the gravity of the moment. Every item she put into her bag felt symbolic. Each shirt, each book, each photo a reminder that our version of together was over. She kept glancing at me, trying to read some sign of weakness, but all I offered was composure. I wasn't angry, I wasn't vengeful. I was simply present, observing the natural consequences of her choices. Before she left, she finally spoke, voice barely audible. "I didn't think you would handle it like this." I nodded. "I handled it exactly as it should be handled. I trusted you, Sophie. I loved you. But I also respected myself enough not to settle for deception. This isn't revenge, it's a lesson. And I hope you learn it before it's too late for the next person." She walked out, leaving the door slightly ajar. A silence heavier than words filling the apartment. And in that quiet I realized something profound. Freedom doesn't belong to the one who demands it. Freedom belongs to the one who respects the truth. I poured myself a drink, sat on the couch, and for the first time in days, felt a sense of calm I hadn't experienced in years. Sophie had wanted an open relationship, but she had forgotten one crucial rule. Honesty is not optional. And that lesson this time she wouldn't forget.